The massive alien ship appeared without warning in Earth's orbit on a quiet Tuesday morning. It was 3 times larger than the International Space Station and shaped like a twisted figure 8. Its hull gleamed with a metal unknown to human. Science Commander Allison Wright stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Valiant, staring at the main screen with narrowed eyes. Her short brown hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and her uniform was perfectly pressed despite being awake for the past 20 hours. "Any response to our hails?" she asked, her voice calm despite the tension in the room. Lieutenant Eric Daniels shook his head. The tactical officer's fingers hovered over the weapons controls. "Nothing yet, Commander, but they haven't made any aggressive moves either." "Keep trying," Wright ordered, "and maintain battle stations. I don't want to be caught unprepared." Earth's governments had fallen into chaos when the alien vessel appeared. News channels showed crowds gathering in major cities, some in panic, others in celebration. Religious groups claimed it was the end times. Scientists called it humanity's greatest moment. Military leaders prepared for the worst. 6 hours after its arrival, the alien ship finally responded. "Commander," called out the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission." Dr. Kevin Powell rushed onto the bridge. The xenolinguistics specialist wore rumpled clothes and carried a tablet computer. His eyes were wide with excitement. "Put it on screen," Wright ordered. The main view screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. It had reptilian features with glistening green scales, large yellow eyes, and a flat nose with vertical slits. When it spoke, a forked tongue flicked between sharp teeth. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Zortok of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and friendship." Powell gasped. "They've been monitoring our broadcasts. They've learned our languages." "Commander," Wright stepped forward. "This is Commander Allison Wright of the Earth Defense Force vessel Valiant. Why have you entered Earth orbit without permission?" The alien tilted its head. "We apologize for any alarm caused. The Galactic Council represents over 300 species across this sector of the galaxy. We have been observing your civilization, and believe you are ready for first contact and invitation to join our peaceful community." Within hours, a meeting was arranged. Earth sent a delegation including military, scientific, and political representatives. Commander Wright insisted on leading the security team herself, with Lieutenant Daniels and Dr. Powell accompanying her to the alien vessel. They stood in a massive circular chamber with walls that seemed to shift colors. 7 different alien species sat around a curved table with Ambassador Zortok in the center position. "We welcome humanity to this historic meeting," Zortok said, standing and spreading his 4-fingered hands. "For centuries, the Council has monitored developing worlds, waiting until they reach sufficient technological advancement while demonstrating peaceful qualities." A blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes spoke next. "Your species has fought many wars, but we see how you dread conflict. You create peace organizations, you negotiate, you compromise. These are valued traits in Council space." Dr. Powell stepped forward. "You've been studying us? For how long?" "We intercepted your radio signals nearly 100 of your years ago," Zortok explained. "We have analyzed your literature, your entertainment, your news. We understand your history of violence, but also your constant striving for peace." "Commander." Wright noticed something odd about the chamber. Despite the advanced technology on display, she didn't see anything that resembled weapons. The aliens themselves seemed physically frail compared to humans. "The Council wishes to extend membership to humanity," Zortok continued. "As a protected species, you would gain access to advanced technologies, trade routes, and cultural exchanges." "Protected from what?" Lieutenant Daniels asked bluntly. The aliens exchanged looks that Wright couldn't interpret. "The galaxy can be dangerous," Zortok said carefully. "Rogue elements exist outside Council space. We provide security for developing worlds until they can protect themselves." The meeting continued for hours as the aliens explained the benefits of Council membership: advanced medicine that could cure most human diseases, clean energy technology that would end pollution, faster than light travel that would open the stars. When the human delegation returned to Earth, global leaders quickly agreed to accept the Council's invitation, seeing only opportunity. Dr. Powell was assigned to work with the aliens on language and cultural exchange. After 3 weeks of close contact, he requested an urgent meeting with Commander Wright. They met in a secure room within the EDF headquarters, swept for listening devices. "Something isn't right," Powell said, his voice low despite the security. "Precautions. I've been analyzing their language patterns, their reactions to our questions." "What have you found?" Wright asked. Powell pulled out his tablet and showed her a series of video clips. "Watch how they react when we mention our military history. There's fear there, not just diplomatic concern." Wright studied the footage. "They're afraid of us?" "I think so," Powell nodded. "Yet they classify us as non-aggressive. It doesn't add up." Lieutenant Daniels joined them, carrying a secure data drive. "You need to see this," he said grimly. "Our intelligence team finally managed to access some of their databases during the technology exchange." The screen showed orbital images of Earth taken over decades. Specific points were highlighted: military installations, satellite systems, defense networks. "They've been doing more than passive observation," Daniels explained. "Several of our military satellite failures over the past 20 years weren't accidents or technical malfunctions." Wright's expression hardened. "They've been actively sabotaging our defense capabilities while presenting themselves as peaceful. As a precaution, they claim in their internal reports," Daniel said. "Standard procedure for integrating predator-evolved species." Powell looked confused. "Predator-evolved? That's how they classify us," Daniels explained. "Their reports suggest most council species evolved from prey animals. They seem to find our physical capabilities and psychology concerning." Commander Wright stared at the evidence before her. "So when they say we're being offered protection, we might actually be the ones they believe need containing," Powell finished. Wright straightened her uniform. "Keep gathering information, but be careful. We need to know their true intentions before we make any moves. If they've been undermining our defenses already, who knows what else they've done or what they're planning." As she left the meeting, Wright looked up at the night sky where the alien ship hung visible among the stars. What had seemed like humanity's greatest opportunity now felt increasingly like a carefully laid trap. She made a decision. Earth would accept the Council's technology and knowledge with open hands, while quietly preparing for the possibility that their new alien friends might not be as peaceful as they claimed. 6 months after first contact, Ambassador Gregory Martinez walked through the grand halls of the Galactic Council headquarters on Nexus Prime. The massive building was carved from a single crystal mountain, with soaring ceilings that reached hundreds of feet high. Alien species of all shapes and sizes moved through the corridors, some floating, others crawling, many walking on various numbers of legs. Martinez adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform, still uncomfortable with the slightly too light gravity. At 55, with graying hair at his temples and deep laugh lines around his eyes, he was considered a perfect choice as Earth's first ambassador, experienced enough to be careful, but open-minded enough to embrace new possibilities. "Ambassador, you have a meeting with the Trade Commission in 10 minutes, said his assistant through his earpiece. "Thank you, I'm heading there now," Martinez replied quietly. He passed a group of tall, willowy aliens with translucent skin that revealed shadowy organs beneath. They moved away quickly when they noticed him looking, their body language suggesting discomfort or fear. Martinez had noticed this reaction often. Despite 6 months of diplomatic relations, many council species seemed uneasy around humans. Some would not even enter the same room. The Trade Commission meeting went like most others. Polite conversation, offers of limited technology, and subtle resistance when humans asked for more access or information. Martinez maintained his friendly demeanor throughout while making careful mental notes. Later that day, he met with Dr. Olivia Chen in the secure room of the Earth Embassy. All Earth personnel knew that their normal quarters were likely monitored by the Council, despite assurances of privacy. Dr. Chen was a brilliant xenobiologist, with long black hair tied back and dark, intense eyes that missed nothing. She had spent months studying council species and their biology. "What have you found?" Martinez asked once the security protocols were active. Chen pulled out her tablet. I've been analyzing physiological responses of various council species during interactions with humans. The results are fascinating. She showed him charts and diagrams. Almost all council species show stress responses when in close proximity to humans, increased heart rates, hormonal changes similar to fear responses. They're afraid of us? Martinez asked, echoing Commander Wright's question from months earlier. Yes, but it's more than that, Chen continued. I've analyzed the evolutionary history of 12 council species so far. All of them evolved as prey, animals on their homeworlds. None are predators. Martinez sat back, considering this information. And humans? We evolved as predators, Chen confirmed. Our forward-facing eyes, our teeth, our ability to chase down prey through endurance, hunting. These are all predator traits. The door to the secure room opened and Jack Miller entered. The security chief was a former Marine with a muscular build and vigilant eyes that constantly scanned his surroundings. At 40, his face showed the weathering of someone who had seen combat. Ambassador Doc, he greeted them with a nod. I've got something you need to see. He placed a small device on the table that projected a holographic document. This is from the Council's security classification database. One of our techs managed to access it briefly during a system upgrade. The document showed various species, categorized by threat levels. Martinez quickly found the entry for humans. Category 3, non-aggressive species, he read aloud. Keep reading, Miller urged. Martinez continued. Initial classification, potential Category 1 predator species. Current status, contained. Observation ongoing. A chill ran through the room. Contained? Chen asked. What does that mean? Miller pointed to another section of the document. There's a reference here to something called the Krell incident from 300 years ago. Another species classified initially as a predator that was contained by the Council. What happened to them? Martinez asked. That's what I've been trying to find out, Miller said. But access to those records is heavily restricted. What I do know is that the Krell aren't members of the Council now, and I've never heard them mentioned in any diplomatic meetings. Martinez stood and paced the small room. So the Council has been lying to us from the beginning. They're not inviting us to join as equals. They're containing what they see as a dangerous species. It gets worse, Miller said. I've been tracking the technology they've shared with us. It's all carefully selected. Nothing that could be weaponized, nothing that would significantly improve our military capabilities. And have you noticed how Counselor Vexra blocks every request for humans to explore beyond our immediate sector? Chen added, We're effectively being quarantined. Martinez nodded grimly. And those pirates attacking our merchant ships in the outer systems? The Council claims they can't control criminal elements, but they respond within hours when any of their own vessels are threatened. The three fell silent, contemplating the implications. What do we do? Chen finally asked. Martinez's face hardened with resolve. First, we continue the facade. We play the role of the grateful, peaceful species happy to learn from the wise Council. Meanwhile, he turned to Miller. Contact Earth. Use our most secure channel. Tell them everything we've discovered and instruct them to accelerate military preparedness while maintaining the appearance of compliance. Miller nodded. Yes, sir. Dr. Chen, I need you to get closer to the medical teams, find out what happened to the Krell, and see if you can identify any biological weaknesses in Council species. Chen's eyes widened slightly, but she nodded. I'll do my best. We didn't want this, Martinez said quietly. We genuinely came seeking friendship and knowledge. But I won't stand by while Earth is secretly classified as a threat and contained like some dangerous animal. Later that night, Martinez stood at the window of his quarters, looking out at the alien cityscape of Nexus Prime. Beautiful spires of crystalline materials rose into the purple sky, lit by the light of 3 moons. His personal communication device chimed. It was a message from a human merchant vessel, the Horizon, operating in the outer systems. Ambassador, this is Captain Alan Foster. We've been attacked again, 3rd time this month. Council patrols were in the area but claim they arrived too late. We lost 2 crew members. This can't continue. Martinez closed his eyes briefly, feeling the weight of responsibility. When he opened them, his reflection in the window showed a changed man from the hopeful diplomat who had arrived 6 months ago. "Captain Foster," he replied, "I understand. Hold your position. Help is coming, and you have my word. This will not continue much longer." He sent the message, then opened a secure channel to Earth using the codes only he and a select few knew. "This is Ambassador Martinez. Authorization code Delta 79 Echo. Message for Earth Command only. Begin Operation Awakening. I repeat, begin Operation Awakening. Time frame: immediate." As he ended the transmission, Martinez knew there was no going back. Humanity had tried peace. They had tried diplomacy. But if the Council saw them only as predators to be contained, then perhaps it was time to show them what human predators were truly capable of when threatened. 2 years after first contact, Admiral Susan Rodriguez stood at the viewing window of the Mars Colonial Defense Center. The red planet's surface spread out below, dotted with the gleaming domes of human settlements. What had once been a struggling colony was now a thriving outpost, thanks to alien technology. Rodriguez was tall, with short silver hair and the steady gaze of someone used to command. At 58, she had spent her entire adult life in military service. Now she led the newly formed Terran Space Force, a force that officially existed for peaceful exploration, but secretly prepared for something else entirely. "Admiral, the test is ready," said her aide. Rodriguez nodded and turned from the window. "Let's see it." They walked through corridors lined with what appeared to be standard equipment, but hidden behind maintenance panels and innocent-looking walls were weapons systems and defense technologies developed in secret over the past 18 months. In a secure underground chamber, a team of engineers surrounded what looked like a standard Council-provided power generator. Engineers had removed its outer casing, revealing modified components within. "The Council thinks we're using their clean energy systems exactly as designed," explained the lead engineer, a young woman with focused eyes. "What they don't know is that we've reversed-engineered the core technology and repurposed it." "Show me," Rodriguez ordered. The engineer activated the modified device. Instead of producing power, it generated an energy field that expanded to fill the room. "This shield technology is based on their power containment systems," the engineer explained. "We've adapted it to block both physical projectiles and energy weapons. Council observers would never suspect. The energy signature looks identical to their approved technology." Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. Similar secret developments were happening across Earth and its colonies. Weapons disguised as scientific instruments, defense systems hidden within approved infrastructure, a fleet of ships officially designated for trade but built with military capabilities. Meanwhile, at the Mars Colony Administration Building, Governor Peter Winters was having a very different kind of meeting. The colony leader sat across from 2 Council representatives who had become increasingly frequent visitors. "We simply wish to ensure your colony is following proper safety protocols," said the taller alien with blue-tinted skin. "The Council is concerned about some unusual power signatures we've detected." Winters, a former diplomat with a friendly face that masked a sharp mind, smiled warmly. "I assure you, we're following all guidelines. The fluctuations are probably from our attempts to adapt your technologies to Mars' unique environment. I'd be happy to show you our engineering facilities." What he didn't mention was that those facilities had been carefully prepared for inspection. The real work happened elsewhere. "That won't be necessary today," the alien replied. "But we would like to station additional observers here to help monitor your technological integration." "More observers?" Winters kept his tone pleasant despite his concern. "We already host 12 Council representatives. Our facilities are stretched thin as it is." "The Council insists," the alien said firmly. "For your own safety. In space, far from Mars, Captain Alan Foster's merchant vessel Horizon drifted with damaged engines. This was the 6th attack in 3 months. Pirates, or ships claiming to be pirates, had targeted human vessels with increasing frequency. Foster, a stocky man with a weathered face, checked on his injured crew members. 2 were badly wounded, and the ship's cargo hold had been ransacked. "Captain," called his first officer. "We're being hailed." Foster hurried to the bridge, expecting the pirates had returned to finish the job. Instead, a council patrol vessel appeared on the screen. "Human vessel," said the alien commander. "We received your distress call. Apologies for our delayed response." Foster bit back his anger. The council patrol station was less than 20 minutes away at standard speed. They had sent the distress call 3 hours ago. "We need medical assistance," Foster said simply. 2 crew members are seriously injured. "We will escort you to the nearest medical facility," the alien replied. "However, we must file a report. These attacks are unfortunate, but perhaps if human ships remained in council-approved territories." Foster's hands clenched, but he kept his face neutral. "Of course, we appreciate your help." After the communication ended, his first officer whispered, "They knew exactly when to show up, didn't they? After the pirates were long gone." Foster nodded grimly. "Send a secure message to Earth Command. Use the new encryption protocol. Tell them everything." Later that same day, at a remote refueling station in the asteroid belt, an unusual meeting took place. A small being with 4 arms and mottled gray skin nervously entered a private room where Jack Miller waited. "You are the human security officer?" the alien asked in a whisper. Miller nodded. "And you are Trellnock?" "Yes." The alien glanced around, fearfully. "I risk much by coming here. My species, the Trell, has served the Council for 8 generations. We are considered trustworthy enough to work in sensitive areas." "You said you had important information," Miller prompted. Trellnock placed a small device on the table that projected images of Council documents. "These are internal security assessments of humanity, not the public classifications, the true ones." Miller leaned forward, studying the alien text with the help of a translator. His expression darkened as he read. "We're listed as apex predators with concerning intelligence levels," he read aloud. "Recommended action, containment and eventual technological regression." "The Council fears you," Trellnock explained. "Most Council species evolve to flee or hide from danger. Humans evolve to chase and fight. Your physical capabilities alone would mark you as dangerous, but combined with your intelligence and adaptability..." The alien shuddered. "What does technological regression mean?" Miller asked, though he suspected the answer. "The Krell," Trellnock said softly. "They were like you, predators. The Council welcomed them just as they welcomed humans, then gradually restricted them, limited their expansion, created accidents that destroyed their key facilities. Eventually, the Krell were confined to their home planet, their technology reduced to pre-spaceflight levels. They remain there now, believing a series of natural disasters caused their fall." Miller felt cold anger building inside him. "And the Council plans the same for us?" "Yes, it has already begun. The pirate attacks are Council-sanctioned, the technology restrictions, the observation posts, all designed to contain and control until humans can be safely reduced." "Why are you telling me this?" Miller asked. "Why betray your masters?" Trellnock's multiple eyes blinked rapidly. "Because my people know what it is to be controlled by fear, and because not all Council species agree with this policy. Some of us believe peaceful coexistence is possible, even with predator species." As Miller left the meeting, he immediately transmitted everything he'd learned to Earth Command. Within hours, the information reached Admiral Rodriguez on Mars and Ambassador Martinez at the Council headquarters. Rodriguez stood again at the viewing window, watching the sunset paint Mars' surface deep red. Her communication device beeped. "With an urgent message from Earth. Admiral Council vessels have surrounded the Prometheus II science station. They're demanding immediate surrender, claiming the station has violated technology restrictions. Captain Smith is requesting instructions." Rodriguez's expression hardened into resolve. The moment they had prepared for had arrived sooner than expected. "Tell Captain Smith to activate defense protocols," she ordered. "And send the coded message to all Terran forces. Operation Awakening is now active." The time for pretending was over. Dr. Nathan Carter watched the council ships through the observation window of the science station, Prometheus II. 5 alien vessels surrounded the station, their weapons clearly visible. Each was 3 times the size of the largest human ship. "They're hailing us again," said his assistant, her voice shaking slightly. Carter ran a hand through his disheveled brown hair. At 37, he had been the youngest person to head a major research facility, chosen for his brilliant mind and ability to think outside normal boundaries. Those qualities had led to the breakthrough that now put them all in danger. "Put them through," he said firmly. A reptilian face appeared on the main screen. "Science Station Prometheus II, this is Commander Brack of the Council Security Force. You have been found in violation of technology restrictions. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded." Carter kept his voice calm. "Commander, we are a civilian research facility studying deep space phenomena. We have violated no agreements. Our scans indicate you are developing shield technology beyond your approved level," the alien countered. "Surrender now, or we will take action." The screen went dark as the transmission ended. Carter turned to his team. "Activate the shield prototype." A technician looked up in alarm. "But it's not fully tested. We don't know if it will hold against their weapons." "We have no choice," Carter replied. "And send the emergency signal to Earth Command." On Earth, General Laura Evans received the distress call in the underground military headquarters beneath the Rocky Mountains. The facility had been built in secret, using materials and methods that would block Council detection. Evans was a compact woman with close-cropped gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had spent the last 2 years preparing for this moment, hoping it would never come. "Prometheus II is surrounded," reported her communications officer. "Council forces are demanding surrender." Evans studied the tactical display. "How long until our response fleet can reach them?" "At least 3 hours, General." Evans nodded. "Deploy the stealth units now, and notify all commands. We are at defense." Condition 1. Across the solar system, human military forces that had been hidden in asteroid bases, beneath planetary surfaces, and disguised as civilian operations, began to move. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council had called an emergency session. Ambassador Martinez was deliberately excluded, but Monica Bailey was there. The intelligence officer had infiltrated Council security 6 months earlier, posing as a human diplomatic assistant while placing surveillance devices throughout the Council chambers. Now she listened through her implanted earpiece as High Counselor Dreckmore addressed the gathered representatives. "The humans have crossed the line," the tall, thin alien announced. His skin was pale blue and his forearms gestured in agitation. "They are developing military technology in direct violation of integration protocols." A smaller alien spoke up. "Perhaps there is a misunderstanding. Humans have been cooperative so far." "There is no misunderstanding," Dreckmore responded sharply. "Our assessment from the beginning has been correct. Humans are the most dangerous predator species we have encountered since the Krell. Their physical capabilities alone make them a threat, but their adaptability and intelligence are even more concerning." Bailey recorded everything while pretending to take notes on Council procedures. "What is being done?" asked another Council member. "Security forces have surrounded their research station," Dreckmore explained. "Once it is secured, we will accelerate the containment plan. Restrictions will be implemented on all human settlements. Their technology will be limited to ensure they cannot threaten Council space." "And if they resist?" someone asked. Dreckmore's voice became cold. "Then we will employ the Predator contingency, as we did with the Krell." Bailey needed to hear no. She made an excuse to leave the chamber and hurried to the secure communication room in the human embassy. Using the highest encryption available, she transmitted everything she had heard to Earth Command. At the Prometheus II station, Dr. Carter activated the experimental shield just as the Council vessels fired their first warning shots. The energy blast hit the invisible barrier and dissipated in bright flashes of light. "It's working," exclaimed one of the scientists. Carter nodded, but his face remained grim. "For now, but we don't know how long it will hold against sustained fire." The Council Commander appeared on screen again, his reptilian features showing surprise. Your defenses are more advanced than we thought. This is your final warning. Surrender the station and all research data. Carter stood tall. We decline. This station is sovereign human territory. Any attack will be considered an act of war. The alien's eyes narrowed. You have no concept of what war with the Council would mean. You are one world. We are 300. The transmission ended abruptly. Moments later, all 5 Council ships opened fire simultaneously. The shield flared bright under the assault, but held. Send everything we have on the shield technology. To Earth, Carter ordered. In case we don't make it. In the void between Mars and Jupiter, General Evans's stealth fleet dropped their camouflage. 20 ships, their hulls black and their shapes designed to deflect scanning beams, accelerated toward Prometheus II. These were not the civilian vessels the Council had seen before. These were warships, built in secret using both human ingenuity and adapted alien technology. Captain Samantha Ford sat in the command chair of the lead vessel, the Defiance. All ships maintain stealth protocols until we're in firing range. Remember your training. The Council doesn't expect us to have military capabilities. Let's use that surprise to our advantage. The human fleet moved silently through space, closing the distance to the embattled research station. At the Galactic Council headquarters, alarms suddenly blared. High Counselor Drekmore rushed into the control center. What's happening? He demanded. A security officer looked up in shock. Human vessels have appeared near the Prometheus station. They're attacking our ships. Impossible, Drekmore said. Their technology is too primitive. See for yourself, the officer replied, displaying the feed from the battle. The Council ships were breaking formation, surprised by the sudden appearance of human warships. 2 were already disabled, their engines dark. The humans were using weapons the Council had never seen before, weapons that shouldn't have been possible with their level of technology. Drekmore's face darkened with rage. They deceived us. All, this time while pretending to be peaceful. He turned to his commanders. Implement the Predator contingency. Now. Across Council space, signals went out to every military vessel. The message was simple. Humanity has been reclassified as a Category 1 Predator threat. All human settlements are to be contained. All human ships are to be disabled or destroyed. Back on Earth, President William Hayes addressed an emergency session of global leaders. The silver-haired leader spoke with quiet determination. For 2 years, we hoped for true partnership with the Galactic Council. Today we know the truth. They never intended to accept us as equals. They feared us from the beginning and planned to contain and eventually cripple our civilization. He paused, his expression solemn. Today we find ourselves in a conflict we did not seek. But make no mistake, we will defend our people, our colonies, and our future among the stars. Operation Awakening is now fully activated. May God help us all. Across the solar system, human forces emerged from hiding. The war that neither side truly wanted had begun. President William Hayes stood in the emergency bunker deep beneath the White House. Screens around the room showed battles raging across the solar system. It had been 3 weeks since the Council ships had surrounded Prometheus II, 3 weeks of constant fighting. Hayes was 62, with lines of worry etched deeply into his face. He had been elected on promises of peace and prosperity. Now he was a wartime president leading humanity in its first interstellar conflict. Status report, he ordered. His military advisor stepped forward. Council blockades are in place around Earth, Mars, and all major colonies. They're attempting to cut off supplies and force surrender through isolation. Casualties? Minimal so far. Our hidden defenses caught them by surprise, and most civilian centers are well protected by the shield technology from Prometheus II. Hayes nodded. And our counteroffensive? Vice Admiral Cooper's fleet is ready. Hayes took a deep breath. This was the moment that would define his presidency, perhaps all of human history. They had tried diplomacy. They had tried cooperation. The Council had responded with deception and attempted containment. Give the order, he said quietly. Implement Operation Lightning. Across the solar system, human forces that had been on the defensive suddenly changed tactics. Vice Admiral Ryan Cooper, commanding the largest of Earth's hidden fleets, gave the signal to attack. Cooper was in his late 40s with intense blue eyes and a reputation for unconventional tactics. He had spent the last 2 years studying every scrap of information about Council military capabilities. All ships execute Lightning Protocol, he ordered from the bridge of the flagship Invictus. Remember your training. They outmass us, but we're faster and more maneuverable. Hit and run. Don't engage in prolonged firefights. Human ships darted from hiding places in asteroid fields and the shadows of moons. Rather than meeting Council blockades head-on, they struck at supply lines and communication relays. They appeared, suddenly, fired with deadly accuracy, and vanished before the larger Council vessels could respond effectively. On the Council homeworld, High Counselor Drekmore watched in growing alarm as reports flowed in. How is this possible? He demanded of his military commanders. They're using tactics we've never seen before. An elderly council member with pale green skin spoke up. You forget, Counselor. Humans evolved as hunters. Stealth, patience, sudden strikes. These are ingrained in their nature. But their technology is far beyond what we believed, the elder finished. They hid their true capabilities while learning from everything we shared. Drekmore slammed his 4 hands on the table. Increase the blockade forces. Cut off all human worlds completely. They must be starved into submission. First Officer Diana Scott crouched in the maintenance shaft of the Council Communications Hub near Jupiter. She and her small team had infiltrated the facility disguised as maintenance workers. Now they were about to execute the most daring mission of the war. Scott was 35 with dark skin and sharp features that rarely showed fear. She had volunteered immediately when command had asked for officers with technical expertise. Charges, set, whispered one of her team. We have 5 minutes to reach the main control room. Scott nodded. Move out. They slipped through the station, stunning the few council workers they encountered with specially designed weapons that left no permanent damage. When they reached the control room, Scott plugged a device into the main console. Download started, she said. 3 minutes until complete. Council alarms began to blare. Security breach in Section 3, announced a computerized voice. All personnel respond immediately. They've found the charges, one of Scott's team said tensely. Keep working, she ordered. This is too important. The device beeped, signaling completion just as Council security forces reached the door. Scott unplugged it and nodded to her team. Fall back to the extraction point. As they fled, the charges they had planted earlier detonated, not destroying the station, but creating enough confusion for their escape. Their small stealth shuttle detached from the station and accelerated away, carrying the most valuable prize of the war, complete access to Council communications protocols. Within days, human forces could intercept and understand all Council military orders before they were carried out. On Nexus Prime, a small group of Council members met in secret. Led by Kilzara, a slender alien with feathery plumes instead of hair, they represented species who disagreed with Drekmore's aggressive stance. This conflict must end, Kilzara said urgently. Humans are not like the Krell. They do not seek conquest. They defend themselves because we left them no choice. Drekmore will never agree to peace, said another council member. He is too committed to the predator containment policy. Then we must go around him, Kilzara decided. I will contact the human leaders directly. The war reached its turning point 1 month after it began. Council supply lines were in disarray. Their rigid command structure was collapsing against human adaptability, and most crucially, the blockade of Earth was broken in a daring operation led by Vice Admiral Cooper. Humanity's ships, once hidden, now moved freely through the solar system. Council forces fell back to defensive positions, no longer able to maintain the offensive. President Hayes received the message from Kilzara with cautious hope. They want to negotiate, he told his advisors. A faction within the Council is pushing for peace. Admiral Rodriguez, who had commanded the Mars defense, looked skeptical. Can we trust them? We can verify, Hayes replied. But if there's a chance to end this without more bloodshed, we must take it. The peace conference took place on a neutral station at the edge of the solar system. President Hayes personally led the human delegation. High Counselor Drekmore had been removed from power by a vote of no confidence, with Kilzara now leading the council representatives. We have much to discuss, Kilzara began, and many misunderstandings to correct. Before we start, Hayes said firmly, there must be acknowledgement of the council's deception and attempted containment of humanity. Kilzara bowed slightly. We acknowledge this truth. Fear guided our actions. Fear born from fundamental differences in our evolutionary paths. Where you see measured response, we saw terrifying potential for aggression. The negotiations lasted for days. In the end, a new agreement was reached. Humanity would remain independent but allied with those council species who chose peaceful coexistence. Human ships would be allowed to travel freely through council space. In return, humans would share their defensive technologies and help protect smaller species from threats. 1 month later, President Hayes addressed the people of Earth. Today marks a new chapter in human history. We have proven ourselves not just to the galaxy but to ourselves. When threatened, we stood firm. When challenged, we rose to meet it. But most importantly, when offered a true chance for peace, we embraced it. He paused, looking directly into the camera. The council believed that humans dread conflict, and they were right. But what they failed to understand was that this very quality, our reluctance to fight unless necessary, is what makes us so formidable when we must. We fight not because we want to, but because we must. And that makes all the difference. Across the galaxy, a new understanding of humanity began to spread, not as mindless predators to be feared and contained, but as protectors who would stand against injustice when called upon, the species that dreaded conflict enough to ensure a lasting peace.